Welcome back to In the Bourbon Bar for another edition of Sten Reacts. And there's nothing like a charred oak tumbler to help that whiskey go down nice and smooth. You know, in the coming weeks and months, we'll all be inundated with statements from political figures on legislative initiatives, campaign announcements, Supreme Court rulings, you name it. In my new Sten Reacts segments, I'll analyze some of those public statements and add my own commentary. And did you know that you and other followers of the Ocean State Current can suggest items for me to react to by going to oceanstatecurrent.com/tips. That's oceanstatecurrent.com/tips. All right, you know, the recent scandal with the leaked Supreme Court draft ruling and opinion on abortion that could overturn Roe versus Wade, I said that would create a political nightmare for pro-life Republican conservative candidates. And it's proven true. And we're going to analyze two statements here from congressional candidates across the country, one in Rhode Island, one in Ohio, in just a minute. But keep in mind, when you're a candidate, there's multiple goals or check boxes you have to consider whenever you give a political policy response or a statement, especially when you have time to craft or think about that response. One mistake candidates make is they just talk about how they feel about an issue without providing a clear contrast to their opponent. Elections are about choices. Choices are about contrast. You must make that contrast at every opportunity. Also have to paint yourself as being reasonable or mainstream, and if possible, paint your opponent as the radical one. You have to appeal to your own political base always, but you also have to try to offer some kind of common sense response that might attract more independent thinking voters. If you can provide information that might help educate voters on a particular issue. That's always helpful. And I would also say, always be a team player. Plug your own party. And if possible, criticize your opponent party. All right, so right now, I'd like to share our screen, and I'd like you to take a look at this first comment on abortion by J.D. Vance. He just won the primary in the Republican Party in Ohio for the U.S. Senate. And let's take a look at his statement that he made in early May. He says, here's Kamala Harris's stooge. I don't think you need to get into insults ever, so I disagree with that. He calls Tim Ryan, his opponent, who won the Democrat primary, a stooge. No need for that. But defending abortion through 40 weeks, good point. This is a barbaric position. All right, that's a bold, contrasting statement, probably called for, because you'll hear why in just a second. Bold, barbaric position anywhere in the world. And he gives some education here. Even European nations typically don't allow abortion after 12 weeks. Good education, good information right there. But it's especially radical position in Ohio. So again, not a bad statement, maybe a little over the top. That last part certainly makes, gives a little perspective to Ohio. All right, next, let's look at a statement by ALLAN FUNG. Now, he's the former gubernatorial candidate here in Rhode Island. He's running for the U.S. congressional seat, District 2 in Rhode Island, soon to be vacated by longtime Congressman Jim Langerman. Here's Fung's statement. My views are in line with the majorities of Rhode Islanders. Excellent statement, gets right to the point. As your next Congress, I would not vote for legislation that allowed late-term or partial birth abortion, and I would be against taxpayer funding of abortion. All right, good, safe statement, but he doesn't provide any contrast here. He doesn't go to where I will show you where I think he should have gone next. In Rhode Island, Roe is already on the books, and as such, nothing would change for Rhode Islanders. Again, educational, good statement. I'm not running to change abortion laws, Fung says. I'm running, all right, he claims a position there. So even if you're pro-abortion, he's saying, I'm not a threat to you. I'm running as laser focused on the lowering of the price of groceries, lowering the price of gas and home and heating oil, and keeping our neighborhoods safe. All right, good. He gets his own campaign information in there. I would call this a pretty safe statement, but he didn't hit all the check boxes, right? It's accurate, it's safe, but it's not a killer instinct. In competition, in campaigns, you need a killer instinct. Here, so putting everything together, right? Putting together my checklist, the statement from Ryan, the statement from FUNG. Here's how I would respond. Again, when you have a chance to think about it. My pro-life views are in line with the 75% of Rhode Islanders who support some restrictions on abortions. It is my opponent and the Democratic Party who are pushing for extreme policies. It is not part of my platform to change existing abortion laws. But unlike my opponent, I do not support taxpayer funding of abortions. And unlike Governor McKee, I would never put a Medicaid price tag on the taking of a baby's life. It is Democrats who want abortion on demand all the way through the third trimester, including partial birth abortions. I reject those barbaric procedures. Also, some Democrats even push the idea of aborting a child after birth. Folks, this is nothing short of infanticide. And it is Democrats who want minor-age girls over the age of 14 to be able to abort their babies without parental consent. Again, I take the mainstream view of supporting parental rights in this regard. It is Democrats who clearly hold the non-mainstream views on abortion. Now, this statement is a little long and probably you're not going to be able to get it out all the time. But if you have the opportunity on your website, in a full interview, this checks all the boxes. A clear contrast, makes yourself seem mainstream. It appeals to your political base. It might attract more moderates. It provides educated and updated information. And it's a team player, supporting your policy and criticizing the other. My statement incorporated elements both from J.D. Vance as well as from ALLAN FUNG. So again, it doesn't have to be a nightmare. Talking about abortion does not have to be a nightmare for conservative candidates. Think, be strategic, be measured. Think about your response. Here in the Bourbon Bar, thanks for watching Sten Reacts.